Hey family, this is Ashley B. Welcome to my channel, Healing for Destiny. If this is your first time, welcome. Y'all, I'm diving right back into this series today. This is part 2, video 2 of a 6-part series that I'm doing, on inner healing. And if this is the first video that you're coming across, I really want you to watch all the videos in this series. So I want you to even go back and start with number 1, the first video, which we talked about the willingness when it comes to inner healing. And today's video, we're talking about isolation as it has to do with inner healing. And y'all, like, I'm giving you the tips, I'm giving you the tools for you to truly start doing this inner healing work, for you to start seeing transformation in your life, start seeing change in your life. Like this is what it's all about. It's all about going within. It's all about contending with God, taking these things to God. And if you really want to start seeing something different, you keep feeling like you're hitting a brick wall. And it's most likely, especially when it comes to your healing journey, and it's most likely because it is time for you to get to these things underneath the surface. We done dealt with all this stuff above the surface, and a lot of that stuff above the surface has to do with the things that's underneath the surface that we got to start picking at, that we got to start getting to the bottom of. We got to start getting to the root of it. And so that's what this series is all about. I am an inner healing and purpose coach, and so God is using me to bring this series to really help people to really do this inner healing work, so you can start seeing a difference. If it's something that you dream of, if it's a vision that God has given you, and it's you trying to hold God at his word, these promises that he has for you, a lot of why we can't get to that part is because God is trying to get us to deal with this part. He's trying to get us to deal with ourselves. He's trying to get us to go within. A lot of this stuff we can't do, we can't solve until we solve this part here. We gotta solve the us. We gotta work on the us. We can't be looking for these things in other people. We can't be looking for other people to heal us. We have to allow God that space and that opportunity to come in and do that work. But just like I was talking about in the first video, we have to be willing. And now we're talking about isolation today, like I said, as it has to do with inner healing. Now let me explain isolation, because a lot of people have different thoughts about isolation. And this isolation, though, when it comes to your inner healing and from you doing this work, the isolation that we're talking about is the healthy isolation. This is not the isolation where you go be by yourself to sit around feeling sorry for yourself, or just shutting yourself out from people and, sitting around feeling sorry and sitting in misery and, that type of isolation. We all know what that type of isolation can be. We've all been there, where we going through certain things in our lives and we just choose to shut ourselves down. But it's not healthy, that isolation place that we might put ourselves in. We think that we need to do that to feel better, but we're actually not feeling better. We're actually making ourselves worse. We're actually pushing ourselves into depression. But this isolation that I'm talking about, this is an isolation for transformation. This is an isolation for healing. Now mind you, healing, this is a continuous process. When you're on this path with God, when you're in this relationship with God, when you're in this journey with God, this is continuous. There's going to keep being things in your life. You're going to be healing for the rest of your life. You're going to be going through this journey. You're going to be growing. You're going to be transforming for the rest of your life. But the idea is that we want to go higher and higher and higher. All these things that we're finding out about ourselves, this identity that we're stepping into, we continue to strengthen it. We continue to know who we are. We continue to build ourselves in God by going on this journey. But the idea is that we want to keep going forward. We want to keep moving into our destiny. We don't want to move back. We don't want to learn all this stuff. We don't want to come into this knowledge and then go back to doing the same stuff. No, we want to keep growing. I don't know about you, but I want to keep growing in God. I want God to keep pulling these layers off of me, and I'm finding new and beautiful things about myself. I want to continue to learn myself and know who I am, and God to continue to pull up all these gifts, these talents, these things that have been on the inside of me that I didn't even know. And so isolation is important when it comes to, like, when you make it up your mind, because like I said, the first video we talked about the willingness, right? So you sit down and you say, okay, God, I'm willing. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do this work. I'm ready to do this inner healing, And so at that point, when you make it up in your mind, When you on this walk, when you're on this journey, when you have this relationship with God, and you getting yourself out of this religious mindset, and you really doing this work, and you really contending with God, and you really inquiring of God to help you, to heal you from these things, then you have to take a step back, and you have to take a season where it's just nobody but you and God. Now that looks different for everybody, and I want you to understand that that's not forever. That's not, to say that you gotta be alone and lonely and all that stuff. No, like a lot of people, that's why I have to explain this, because a lot of people will see isolation and have certain things to say about an isolation, but this is an isolation for transformation. This is an isolation for you and God. And a lot of times this work that God is trying to do in us, especially when it comes to inner healing, especially when it comes to these roots and this healing that God is trying to do within, that he's trying to do with our hearts, God is like, I need you to get by yourself. I need you to not see anything else but me. I need you to cut off all this noise. I need you to cut off TV. I need you to step away from friends and family. I need you to step away from all these influences. I need you to take your mind, take your eyes off of the world, and I need you to only see me. I need you to only see the word. And a lot of times God needs us to be in that space, because when we're not in that space, everything that we're trying to do when it comes to this is tainted by the outside. It's tainted about what people got to say. Because like right now, you say you go through this journey, and let's say you've been done told your friends about this, like, girl, I'm serious. I'm trying to get my life right. I'm trying to get my relationship right with God. Like I'm trying to walk into my purpose. I need to heal from this stuff. I need to sit down. I need to do this work. You've been done went and told one of your friends that, and right off the bat, and it's not even that they necessarily trying to be negative or anything, but right off the bat, they can just say something that would just turn you off, like, oh, girl, this, or, oh, I can't even really think of anything right now to say, but it could just be something so simple, but it's so negative, and you will take that, and then the devil will use that, and now you sitting over here like, man, should I be doing this? Man, do I, and this is why God is like, I need you to be alone. This is why I need you to be alone. I need you to turn all that stuff off. I need you to don't even tell people what you're doing. Don't tell people that you're journaling. Don't tell people that you're doing all this. Don't tell people that you're working on yourself. Just work on yourself. Just do you. Just get alone. And the best thing that you can do when people, trying to figure out what's going on, tell them, I love you. God bless you. But I'm working on something right now, and I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later. Don't even get to explain to yourself. Don't do any of that. You just have to isolate. Like, you don't explain this to any. If you're watching this right now, most likely this is resonating with you, and this is what God has been speaking to you. So this is hitting you on a different level right now, watching this like, man, I know that I need to do this, or I've already started doing this. And so it's hitting right now. Like it's really resonating in your spirit, because this is what it is, and this is what it takes, and this is essential. And so when we begin to start going within ourselves, right? Part of us going within ourselves is now we have to start adopting a new identity. Now we have to start coming into agreement with who God says we are. And in order for us to find out who we really are and who God says we are, we have to go back to our creator, right? We have to go back to the person. We have to spend time with who says that we are who we are. So God is like, I need you to get into a space where you are dedicated to this, where you have the time to really work on this stuff, where you have the time to really sit with, like, I need you to make time. If you don't have time, I need you, like, you have to think about it like this is your life. This is your life. This is your mind. If this is what you say that you want, if you want this stuff that God says that he has for you, if you want to walk into the promises, the plans that God has for you, and God is saying that this is essential to that, then that means you got to do it. You can't skip over this. You can't go around this. And so isolation is essential, because it sits you down and it just puts you in front of God. It cuts off all that outside noise. It cuts off all the naysayers. Because just like I was saying, you got naysayers that will have stuff to say on the sideline and, speaking negative in your ear, speaking these word curses over you. No, we got to get away from that. We have to be intentional this is serious. This is my life. That's how you gotta think about it. This is my life. This is my healing. The devil done stole so much from me. It's so much stuff that I didn't know. You know, I lived this life with this certain identity. Like, everything about me has been rooted in this wrong identity, in this deception of the world, this deception of the enemy. But now I'm coming into this knowledge. Now I'm learning who God is. Now I'm learning who I am. And I have to be intentional. We have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about this. You have to be serious. So isolation is key. So I'm in this isolation, right, Ash? You say I got to do this isolation. You say this is key. So what am I supposed to be doing during this isolation season? What am I supposed to be doing during this time? Start journaling. Journaling. I've talked about journaling before on this channel, and journaling is so important. It's so key. I'm telling y'all, if you don't have a journal, go out today. Go out today. Take this serious. Go out and get you a notepad, get you a journal, and start writing. Start writing. When things come up, let's just use triggers, for example. I'm just going to use triggers. When it's been certain things, let's say it's certain things that you felt like you've healed from. You felt like, God, I gave this to you. You healed me from it. And then these triggers begin to come up. You got to start addressing that. You got to start addressing, why am I still being triggered by these things? You have to start addressing, like, why does this stuff keep coming up? Because all that stuff, because the way that you're dealing with stuff like that now is how you used to deal with it. Or the way that you might be dealing with it is running away from it and not addressing it. No, that's what journaling is all about. As soon as you start getting these triggers and stuff start coming up, don't just brush over it. Don't just walk away from it or run away from it like it's not happening. No, let me sit down. I don't like the way that this is making me feel. I don't understand why this is keep coming up. So let me journal this. So I sit down. Why am I being triggered by this? Why is this coming up? What is going on the inside of me that this is coming up, that this is triggering me the way it is? Especially when I thought that I healed from this, especially when I thought that I wasn't affected by this anymore. 2 weeks ago, when I thought about this, I wasn't affected. But today, 2 weeks later, I'm affected by this. Why? And you sit there and you journal that, and you start getting to the root of that stuff, and you start picking it apart, pulling it apart, and being serious about it. And then you take that back to God. And you got to keep doing this, though. You got to be serious. You can't just do this one time and be like, okay, it didn't work. No, you have to keep contending with God. You have to do not get tired. Do not get tired of being on this journey. Do not get tired of taking things back to God, because one thing about God, I'm going to tell you just like this. One thing about God is God already know all this. God already knows the innermost being about you. He knows he knows these innermost thoughts. He knows this innermost part about you. All this stuff in you, even the stuff that you don't understand, God knows it and he understands it. But God is looking for people that's going to be real, that's going to humble themselves, that's going to keep believing, that's going to keep having faith, that's going to have an authentic faith that, God, you said that you would heal me from these things. God, you said that you have a better life for me. God, you said that you know the thoughts and the plans that you have for me. And so, God, right now, these thoughts that I have for myself and these plans that I have for myself, it's not working out, God. Lord, I thought that I was healed from this, God. Lord, I thought that I was over this, but I'm not. And I need you. I need your help, God. I don't know why this stuff keeps coming up, but you know what, God? I'm going to do this work. I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm not going to let the devil keep tearing me up. I'm not going to let the devil keep tearing me down. I'm going to contend. I'm going to go after this. And when I'm done sitting here doing this work, when I'm done journaling this, God, you know what? I'm going to take this to you in prayer. I'm going to seal this in prayer. I'm going to seal this in prayer. I'm going to go to you and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm going to tell you exactly how I long for you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I need for you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I need healing for, God. And I'm going to be intentional about it. And that's how you have to look at it. That's how you have to look at it. And when you're in this season, when you take the time out to truly isolate yourself and get in this space with God, this is what it's all about. It's like I said, it's continuous, but it starts with this. It starts with this. It starts with making that time and that space and being intentional. And you just got to go through it for a season, however that is, whatever you and God work out, whatever God speaks to you, whatever God tells you, whatever he tells you, how the length or whatever, that's between you and God. But that's where you have to start. You have to start with God. You have to take that season to just sit and start going within. And when you in that isolation, start asking yourself, start journaling and asking yourself stuff like, what type of woman do I want to become? What are my goals? Like, where am I trying to go? God, show me my purpose. God, and I need you to heal these things. God, I need you to help me. God, I need you to give me vision. I need you to help me. God, I have anxiety. God, I see things from this type of way, but I know you don't want me to see things this type of way, God. I want to step into my purpose, God, but I can't because I know I got to deal with this before I step into my purpose. Okay, God, you telling me to step in my purpose even while I'm still dealing with this stuff. Okay, God, help me to have the strength and help me with the courage to be able to do that, God, because I can do that, but I don't even feel like I'm worthy enough to be doing that, God. I don't even feel like I'm equipped enough to do that, God, because I'm still dealing with this. And this is real, y'all, because even when God first started calling me to do what I'm doing, to be a coach, even to start my YouTube channel, y'all, I wasn't all the way healed. But I had to go God's way. I had to spend that time with God. I had to take that season and I had to be obedient. And I said, God, you're calling me for a reason. I don't think that you should be calling me, God, because I don't feel like I'm all the way together, but you're calling me. So I have to step into this. I have to do what it is that you're calling me to do. And do you not know that when I did that, that's what turned my pain into purpose. That's what turned my pain into healing, because God was pulling me out of my misery. He was pulling me out of my pain to start serving somebody else, to start helping somebody else, to start helping somebody else that's hurting, to start encouraging somebody else that was hurting. And as I did that, as I stepped into that, as I began to be intentional, as I sat in that isolation with God, he started healing me. He started healing me. And the more I started thinking less of myself and just going after what he told me to do and serving, God started doing that inner. He started healing me from the inside out. But this is what it's all about. And that's just my testimony. That's just my testimony. And I'm just being honest and, just letting you guys in on just, kind of my journey and my testimony and everything, just kind of sharing some transparency. But that's what it's all about. Like, you have to be intentional. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to go through an isolation. You have to be willing to get away. And I want to leave y'all with this. I'm going to leave it with this. And when it comes to isolation, like, you cannot worry about everything. You can't worry about the world. You can't worry about these people. You can't worry about nobody but you and God, because at the end of the day, you doing this work on yourself, you're not being selfish by wanting to be better. You're not being selfish by wanting to be a healed and healthy and whole version of yourself. How are you being selfish to want to do something better for yourself? How are you being selfish by wanting to be a better mother? How are you being selfish by wanting to be a better daughter to God, to be the woman that he called you to be, that you can start healing from this trauma, healing from these things of the past, breaking these old cycles and these old patterns in your life and going on a new path, taking a different detour, doing something different, stepping into your purpose, not sleeping on yourself anymore, but being intentional and maximizing all this potential that God has placed on the inside of you. There's nothing selfish about that, and there's nothing wrong. And that's everything about that is right. Everything about that is what God wants you to do. Everything about that is what God is looking for from you, for him to move like never before. He sees that you serious. Okay, I see that you serious. That's just like when Jesus, y'all done got me preaching. That's just like when Jesus had met the man at the well, right? Now, Jesus could have easily just healed the man. He could have just healed him. He could have just touched him or spoke something. He would have been healed. But he didn't do that. You know what he asked him? He said, "Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed?" That's what God is saying right now. Imagine that God is speaking that to you right now. God is not just about to come do these things and move things around, but he needs to know, like, I'm going to do it, but do you really want this? Do you really want this? If you really want this, then get up and go. Then pick up your mat and go. If you really want this, I'm not just about to come impose myself on you. I'm a gentleman. This is what God is saying. I'm a gentleman. I'm a gentle God. I'm not about to just throw myself on you. I'm not about to just, I can do all of this and I want to do all of this, but is this really what you want? And if this is what you want, then get up and go and let's ride. Let's ride. Let's go. I love y'all so much. If you ready to go, I want y'all to type that in the comments. Say go. Say, God, I'm ready. Ready,